بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم والله غفور رحيم. قل أطيعوا الله والرسول فإن تولوا فإن الله لا يحب الكافرين. صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and sisters, firstly, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're here to discuss a day with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that day with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a common day that he would have based on the ahadith and description that we've got. Now, I want to say a couple of etiquettes as we move along, inshallah, is that if you've got children with you, they were very welcome, inshallah. If they make a little bit of noise or something, just calm them down, or just take them outside, calm them down, and come straight back in, inshallah. And mobile phones, please try and have them off or on silent during the entire time. I'm here to speak to you for about an hour, and then we'll have the session ending, inshallah. So, if we imagine in the morning, the Prophet ﷺ has prayed his sunnah, and he prays his sunnah inside his house, okay, inside his house. Now, in his house, you pray the sunnah, and then he would go inside the masjid and wait for the Sahaba to come down. Now, sometimes he would pray in the masjid, but other times he's praying inside his house. Why? The lesson for us is that he's told us to leave some of our prayers for our households, because the barakah will be there, the blessings will be there. Okay? Now, if we're there early in the morning, I need to just describe to you how the masjid was, so you get an idea. Okay? So, imagine that this is the qibla, you're facing the qibla, and imagine you're in the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the area where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is buried. Okay? He's buried there. That was where Aisha radiallahu anha's house was, where that wall, just behind that wall, imagine that. Okay? All of his wives' houses were all around there. There was about 9 houses that he had around there. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a doorway to come out there and a doorway to come straight inside the masjid. If this was the masjid, here's where the mihrab of the member is, and what would happen is, about this much space or a little bit more than this was the original masjid. Okay? If you go in Masjid Nabi, how many of you have been to Umrah and been to Medina Munawwara? Put your hands up. Oh, mashallah, good man. Cambridge is high on the scores, mashallah. So, you'll see red carpet everywhere. When you go to the front, you'll see a green piece of carpet. That green carpet signifies the original masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. So this much space, and just behind that, what there was is there was an open space, okay, open space, and then that was a courtyard they had, and behind that there was a veranda. Underneath the veranda there were many different Sahaba, about 30 to 40 different Sahaba who dedicated their lives to learning the deen of Allah Azza wa Jalla. They stayed there, they had no other homes to go to, they dedicated their lives to learning the religion of Islam. Okay? Now the Prophet ﷺ comes inside the masjid, okay, at Fajr time. His feet are swelling because of the lengthy tahajjud that he's done. The Qiyamul Layl in the night time that he's done, his feet are swelling. He enjoyed every moment of it that he did. Okay, alhamdulillah, mashallah. And now he's lying down in the masjid. He would lie down waiting for the Sahaba. He would have his right hand under his right cheek, and he would be facing sort of this way with his face towards the Qibla, feet towards the end, head towards this way, and the Prophet ﷺ is just resting between his sunnah and his fard, waiting for us to come. Now imagine we were at that time, it's going to create some spaces I can walk up and down, inshallah. Imagine we were there at that time, and we're coming all the way down, okay, to join him in the prayer. Did you know that the original masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, the original masjid was that small, which I explained to you, but the original city of the Prophet ﷺ was a lot smaller than what we know of it today. Okay? Today when you go to Masjid Nabawi, it's the masjid. Outside there you've got the marbled area. Outside there the hotels in the city starts. Yesterday in the Prophet's time, see those minarets that you saw of the masjid? The big large minarets of the masjid. In those minarets, between those minarets was the entire city of Medina. That's why it takes you so long to get inside the masjid, because you're walking through an entire city. if we were available at that time, what would happen is we would be going down Medina's alleyways, streets. They were quite narrow. Maybe you'd get a camel that would be able to pass through there with probably a stall on the side. That's how much space you would have. There were narrow streets that people would go down, and when they go all the way down towards Medina Munawwara to the masjid, when you get there, you find a dark masjid. Okay, because there were no fancy lights, no chandeliers, nothing else. They used to start their fajr in the dark, and by the time they finished, they could recognize the silhouette of the women who were leaving the masjid. Okay, now the Prophet ﷺ was waiting. Men come and congregate from the front, the women would congregate from the back. In between them there was a space of a few rows that was just empty rows, and that separated the two different parts. Now, once the time for Salah comes, the Prophet ﷺ gets up and he leads the prayer. When he leads the prayer, subhanAllah, his voice, his tune, his recitation, subhanAllah, was so amazing. Forget the Muslims, the non-Muslims would stop in their tracks to listen to him. Okay? I don't know if you knew or not, the first jinns that came into Islam was through the recitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At Fajr time in the valley of Medina, they heard his voice, and they just stopped there and they became Muslim after Fajr. Okay? Because of the power of his voice. And in Makkah al-Mukarramah we've got a narration that says, once the Prophet ﷺ was calling all the polytheists in Makkah. And what happens here is that many of the polytheists are listening to him, and Rasulullah ﷺ, he starts to recite Surah Najm. And when he recites, he captures their hearts. And they're all now buzzing with their beautiful recitation of the Prophet ﷺ. A sajda comes, the Prophet ﷺ goes into prostration, and all the different mushrikeen with him, the effects of it was so much, they all went into prostration. Okay? Except for one man at the back who thought, I'm not doing this. He picked up a rock and put it to his forehead. Right? He just did that, but that was the effects of Rasulullah ﷺ on the polytheists. Can you imagine how effective it was to listen to him? You can take all the qadis you want in the world and bring them together. No one's going to produce any beautiful voice and tune than the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Because even in a hadith it says, Allah does not like anything more from His Prophet than to listening to him recite the Quran. Okay, Allah loves the most from His Prophet when He hears him reciting the Quran, subhanAllah. Anyway, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recites, he leads the Fajr prayer, and after he leads the Fajr prayer, subhanAllah, we're sitting there, the women are leaving, the men are still sitting there, and now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to turn around. And when He turns around, we're going to see His image. And if you think as a Muslim we don't know how our Prophet ﷺ looked, yes we do. And many Muslims don't know this. It's in hadith, authentic hadith, or with good chains. It's got a good description of Rasulullah ﷺ. So let me give you the description from the hadith with authentic sources and with the good chains, inshallah. Rasulullah ﷺ he had beautiful black hair from the front all the way to the back. Never became bald in his life. Okay, he had black hair, thick hair, subhanAllah. It wasn't curly, it wasn't straight, it was just slightly wavy. He used to comb his hair backwards, he used to flick it backwards, he used to apply a lot of oil to his head to the extent that his hat would sometimes soak in the oil. And the Prophet ﷺ put a parting in the middle. He used to put a parting in the middle, part of it going towards the right, part of it going towards the left, over his ears. And one narration says he kept it up to his earlobe. Another narration says up to his collarbone. Another narration says up to his shoulders. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam had only 17 white hairs in his head till the end of his life. And those 17 white hairs only became white because of the punishment described in Surah Hud. When that was revealed, it turned 17 of his hairs white. Other than that, he had no other hairs going white for the rest of his life. The Prophet ﷺ had a broad forehead which showed you his intelligence. He had a vein in the middle, right in the middle, going downwards, which would only swell on the rare occasion the Prophet ﷺ became angry. He rarely became angry, but on the rare occasions, this vein would swell, and the Sahaba knew to stay away from him at that time because of the awe that he inspired in their hearts. And they described, they said, it was like as if somebody had squeezed 2 pomegranates in his cheeks. That's how red his cheeks became. His complexion was white with a touch of redness in it. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the most beautiful eyes, okay? beautiful eyes. They were nice and large eyes with black pupils inside. He had long eyelashes. His eyebrows were not too sort of bent, nor were they straight. They were just in between, and the two parts of his eyebrows never met. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a nose that was straight with a slight bridge at the top part of it, and he had a moustache that was trimmed. He had a beard that was full-fisted. His beard would flicker slightly when the wind would blow. And his mouth was slightly wide. They say that he never wasted any of his words. And Allah created him in a way that when he spoke, you would be able to hear him and understand him very clearly. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he smiled, it was the best thing you could get of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you got a lot of it. He was the most smiling person in the whole of Medina. In fact, they never met another smiling person like him. And when he smiled because he wanted to make your day, not because he was having his own good day. You guys understand? You don't understand? If you ask Muslims a week ago, why are you happy? They're saying, because Liverpool's in the finals. If you ask them a week later, why are you sad? Because Liverpool lost. Right? It's all about what they think. Yeah, their happiness reflects, the happiness that comes on their face. Rasulullah's happiness was for you. He wanted you to leave with a good heart, with a nice feeling, and that's why he smiled. In fact, his smile was the smile of the face, not the smile of the mouth. The smile of the mouth goes like this. The smile of the face is like this. Okay? You know the smile of the face? The eyes light up, the cheeks move up, the whole face is smiling, and he's told us to smile the smile of the face. It's in hadith. بِوَجْهٍ طَلِقٍ. He said with an entire face, he said smile at your Muslim brother. Subhanallah. Not with just a smile of the mouth. Now subhanallah, I'm not going to look at the sisters right now. I want all you men right now, just give me a smile of the face, go on. Give me a smile of the face, go on. Give me a smile of the face, and all of them like, you talking to me? Last time I smiled, it was like 2 weeks ago. Can you have a smile of the face, all of you? I'm looking at all of you. Sisters can do to one, like they do one. That's good. If it hurts you, that means you haven't been smiling. You got a problem. I'll give you, the beautiful thing about the Prophet is that he used to smile at the moments when people didn't want to smile usually. To make you understand this, let me give you a story, a true story. 20 years ago, I was an imam in North London Masjid, okay? Now, if you know how masjids work, imams know how masjids work, okay? The two salahs that everyone is kind of really, bustly and all talking to each other is Maghrib and Isha, okay? Everyone's talking to one another, right? They're really happy. If you go to the one that they come in the crowds, but they kind of leave, right? They need to leave, is Dhuhr salah because they're coming from work. The quietest salah where least attended salah is which one? No, Asr. If you're an imam, you know. If you go to Fajr and Asr on a normal day, in Ramadan you're going to see it different. On a normal day, Asr is more, less attended than Fajr salah. Fajr has more lines than Asr, okay? But the unanimously, the one that is unanimously the groggiest, the grumpiest, the one that nobody wants to smile in, is which one? Fajr. You got that one right? It's Fajr, okay? Because the brother who will pray, after he prays, he'll just get up. He'll just walk off. He's like, I don't want to talk to anyone. After Fajr, no one wants to stay. Only a few people stay after Fajr. It's usually the people who are on benefits. You know what I'm going to say? Yeah? Even the imams trying to get them out, like, get out or obey, like, it's our way. They're like, Imam, you got any fan, you got any guar, you got any tea, you got anything else, okay? So anyway, what happens is we have a brother that comes from outside. We call him Ahmed. He had a trimmed beard. He didn't have a large beard, but he had a trimmed beard. But mashallah, he had the sunnah smile. He used to smile with the face. He had a gap between his teeth. And when he would smile, he'd give you his entire attention. So he's there standing at Fajr as people are exiting the masjid. He would say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He's doing salam to everyone as they're exiting the masjid. From outside the town, another brother called Tariq comes and he sees me and says, Imam, he says, what's wrong with him? I'm like, what do you mean what's wrong with him? He said, he's smiling all the time. I said, yes. But he said, but it's Fajr. I said, I know, brother, welcome to the Sunnah. Alright? If you saw the Prophet ﷺ at Fajr, he would give you a smile. Okay? It was the occasions when others were not ready to smile, he'd be there to smile for you. Okay? He ﷺ had a gap between all of his teeth. When he smiled, they said it looked like pearls in his mouth. Okay? He ﷺ had broad shoulders, okay, had broad chest, his shoulder joints, his knee joints, his ankle joints, they were all broad, okay, to show the courage the Prophet ﷺ had. If you shook his hands, your hands sunk in his hands because his hands were so soft. They described them as the softest silk that you had put your hands on. Okay? And if his sweat came off his hands, or if he had stroked the head of a child, then for the rest of the day there was the smell of perfume coming from the head. From the rest of the day, because his sweat was pure perfume. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ had this wonderful way of being with people. Okay? So he's there sitting there after Fajr. We see him turn around, he does his dhikr, and the first thing mentioned in a Sahih Hadith of Muslim is some people came with containers. These containers had water inside them, and the Prophet ﷺ would dip his hand inside. Whichever container he dipped his hand inside, and whoever in Medina drank from that container, from that water, and they were ill, they got cured immediately. This was one of the mu'jizas, one of the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ, mentioned in an authentic narration. The first question he would ask is, who has seen a dream? And if somebody has seen a dream, they would say it. If not, he would say his own dream, and then he would interpret his own dream. After this, he would speak about his ahadith. Okay, he would relate his ahadith, and as he's speaking, if he saw the signs of boredom coming in anybody, then the Prophet ﷺ would switch the subject. He would say, how's the farmland coming along? How's your farming coming along? And they would say, MashaAllah, a few weeks ago we put the seeds in, we're watching them grow and so on. They would talk about the farmland. Why? Because he understood that you can't give too much of anything to anyone in this world. They will reject it. If you give too much Quran, too much ahadith to anyone, if you give too much religion down people's throats, then they will reject it. Okay, so take a lesson from that. So the Prophet ﷺ would be with them like that until, subhanAllah, the sun would rise. When the sun would rise, the Prophet ﷺ would get up and he would do 2 rakats. These 2 rakats that he would do was known as Salatul Ishraq, or the 2 rakats after the sun rises. And when he would do those, subhanAllah, he told us, any one of us that joins the jama'ah or the congregation in Fajr, and you join the congregation, then you sit in your place remembering Allah until the sun rises, and that's when you get up and do the 2 rakats. He's told us you will get a full and complete. And again he said, full and complete. And the third time he said, according to this narration, which is authentic, full and complete Hajj and Umrah. Okay? So if you can't do your Hajj and Umrah, okay, you know Fajr where to find your Hajj and Umrah. Okay? You understand? Just don't let it get to your head. Like some brother returns back home and he puts a black cloth over his fridge and starts doing tawaf around it, right? Or some other brother who says he's going to pray behind the Haram Imam from Cambridge live. When they put the TV on and he's showing the Imam live from Haram, he stands behind his TV and says, Allahu Akbar behind him. Bro, there's 4,000 miles between you and him. Okay? And plus, by the way, the Qibla's in that direction, okay? Not towards the TV. Don't let it get to your head, alright? But the Hajj and Umrah reward, according to a authentic narration, is there for you at Fajr time, inshallah. Now, Rasulullah ﷺ then goes from there to his house. Okay? His house, like I said to you, is just over there. He goes in his house. When he goes in his house, he informs his family that he's about to come in. He would either clear his throat, or he would say the salam, or he'd make some kind of gesture that he's coming in, and then he would come in. Okay? And of course, he would give a lovely, a smile, a lovely smile to his wife. Smile of what? Smile of the face. Okay, not the smile of the mouth. All right? And he would ask, how are you? How's your day been, Aisha? How are you? Give her a peck on the cheek. How are you? And ask her like that. That's the way to greet when you come home. Not like some people when they come home, subhanAllah. Some sister called me up. And some sister, this is a true story. She said to me, Imam, speak to my husband. I said, why? She said, because my husband comes home stealth mode. This is called MI5 style. Okay? So the guy comes, he puts his key in the door, he really carefully turns it, opens the door without a creak, comes in. I'm going to listen to who speaks to me today. He comes in, alright? He's standing by the living room door. His wife's inside, his children inside on the sofa, probably watching TV. Alright, suddenly his wife looks over. Angel of death. Sorry, my husband. Okay? Now, give some private space to your family, guys, right? And I expect the same from them, okay? The thing is, don't freak out your family when you're coming home. Seriously, I thought, subhanAllah, brother comes home like that, treats his own family. I had a word with him. I told him, what are you doing? The sunnah is to notify people when you're coming home. And the thing is to come home and to give, like I said, to be cheerful, right? To be cheerful. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ would come home and he would crack light jokes. Crack light jokes. We're not talking about jokes that make you laugh and laugh and laugh. No. Light jokes, just to, ease the mood. You get me? Aisha radiallahu anha says, she says when he would come home, he would be with us in a way that we forgot he was a prophet. But when he would stand to pray, we forgot he was a human being. Can you imagine the balance that he had? Okay, he cracked light jokes. Okay, I'm going to give you a joke. The Prophet cracked. Okay, so a Sahabi comes, an adult Sahabi comes, and he says, Messenger of Allah, I want to go with you in the path of Allah, but I don't have a camel. Could you please provide me a camel? The Prophet says, yes, I will give you the child of a camel. The Sahabi says, Messenger of Allah, I want a proper camel, a big camel. The Prophet says, I'll give you the child of a camel. Now this Sahabi is thinking, adult Sahabi is thinking, oh my God, all the other Sahaba are going to be on big camels, running past me, right? Going past me, and I'm going to go. So Messenger of Allah, please, I'm asking you for a proper answer, camel. Like, he said, I'm going to give you the child of a camel. So the Prophet then brings a camel. And when he brings a camel, it's a large camel. The Sahabi says, Messenger of Allah, you said you're going to give me the child of a camel. The Prophet says, this camel is also the child of another camel. You guys understand? And subhanAllah, how the Prophet took the opportunity to try and break the mood, make them feel at ease. That's how he was, okay? So the Prophet would do that. He comes inside the house, he's in his private space right now, all the way till about mid-morning. We know this about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. They didn't have clocks at that time, but we know it from one thing, which was Aisha radiallahu anha says that there was a mid-morning prayer he used to do, known as Salatul Duha. He would get up, pray 2 rakats, okay? And he's told us there's a lot of reward for us in that. The Prophet ﷺ then comes from there, he comes all the way inside, so let's say from there, comes all the way inside the masjid, around 10 o'clock, and now he's got many different circles that are already established inside the masjid, okay? These are known as halaqas. Traditionally, they're circles of learning. And the Sahaba, I told you, that were living at the back of the masjid, they would come here at this time, and some others from outside would join them, and here they would learn the religion with one another. The Prophet ﷺ made his life such that the Imam did not have to do everything. Once he taught someone, he taught them how to take certain duties and carry them out. So these Sahaba were sitting there. One halaqah, for example, was learning the newly revealed verses. Another one was to learn about the ahadith, the recent ahadith the Prophet ﷺ said. Another one was just to remember Allah Azza wa Jal. Another one was to just think about how Allah brought them to Islam, and they would relate their stories to one another. This was in another hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ comes at this moment. Sometimes he brings them all together and he talks to them on one platform, and sometimes he allows them to stay in their different circles, and he would go for other duties. If he brought them together, sometimes the Jewish people of Medina would also come at this time, and they would listen to the Prophet ﷺ just to see, what is he saying, and some of them converted through that as well. So the Prophet ﷺ gives his message here, and whenever he spoke to them, subhanAllah, his words reached the hearts. Even the munafiqs, the hypocrites, even they felt that the words reached the hearts. If you're ever giving da'wah to someone and your words are not reaching them, it's probably because you're not practicing what you're preaching. Okay? Let me give you a story. One of our teachers said, and this was about 20 years ago, he said, one of our teachers said, he said there was an Egyptian imam, and a man came up to him with his son. He said, Imam, after Jum'ah, he said, Imam, could you please tell my son to stop eating sweets? And the Imam said, come back next week. So the man came back next week with his son after Jum'ah. He said, Imam, can you tell my son to stop eating sweets? He said, come back next week. So he came back next week. He said, Imam, can you please tell me to my son to stop eating sweets? He said, come back next week. He came back next week and said, Imam, can you please tell my son to stop eating sweets? On the fourth week, the Imam looks at the son and says, son, stop eating sweets. And then guess what? After a few days, the son stops eating sweets. And the father comes running to the Imam and he says, Imam, I don't understand this. The first week I came to you, you could have done it that week. Why did you wait till the fourth week? The Imam said, because the first week you came to me, I was addicted to sugar. Myself, I was addicted to myself. Okay? How am I supposed to tell your son to do something when I'm addicted to myself? And I've been wanting to wean myself off. So what I did is I took the opportunity to stop, but I had to allow it to become part of my system. So I allowed for 4 weeks, and when 4 weeks had gone by, it was part of my system. Did you see when I told your son? It worked. He listened straight away. That's what practicing and preaching means. That you practice whatever you're preaching to others, inshallah you'll have effect in your words. The Prophet ﷺ had a lot of effect when he would talk to people. Anyway, if the Prophet ﷺ gets up from that time before the sun is getting too hot, he would probably visit somebody who's sick. Okay, this was the time when he would visit the sick. If he visited the sick, subhanAllah, he was out in no time. Just a few moments. And when he came in with the most positive attitude. He said things like, La ba'sa tahurun insha'Allah. He said, don't worry, this is going to be a means of getting rid of your sins. This will wipe away your sins. He would say things like, oh Allah, give this person an immediate recovery. Okay, Allahumma shfihi shifa'an ajilan. He would give that dua to them. And the thing was, he would remain positive in the face of calamity, in the face of this person feeling that everything's going wrong for me. The Prophet ﷺ would give that good feeling. Now there's a lesson in this for us. The ummah is ill at this moment, but it doesn't mean that we become ill in our minds because of that. We've got to keep our positive mind. You understand? You understand, guys? You don't understand? Yes or no? Yes? You don't sit there and say, bro, what's happening? Oh, it was really bad. What's happening? Oh, it was really terrible. Is it terrible to sit down? Let's see how terrible it is. And doing each other's minds in with negative talk. No. We want to help the ummah, we want to revive the ummah, but yet we're going to remain positive, inshallah. We're not going to spoil our mindset. So the Prophet ﷺ will be in and out like that. Not like some people, subhanAllah. You know, when you go to visit the sick or someone, go at a time when they're not going to be busy with whatever it is. Especially they're not going to be busy with food. Some people, you know, they'll target a Bongoli's house. Everyone knows that Bongoli's house, 2 o'clock, you got food that's going to be around. The guy walks in to visit the sick, he walks in, they say, you come here, Khayla, what do you eat? He goes, no, I'm not going to eat, no, I'm not going to eat, what have you cooked? Why did you walk in the first place at the time when they're going to have food? Then you can obviously end up eating food, and if they never gave you food, you'd be complaining by the time you leave the door. Stingy, God never give me anything, right? So thing is, coming at a time when they're not going to be busy, see them and come back out. That was his sunnah. Prophet ﷺ now, what's happening is that his lunch time is approaching. They said in the hadith, if he had lunch, he would miss the supper. If he had the supper, he would miss the lunch the next day. Sometimes he missed the lunch and supper together. Okay? He preferred to be empty stomach than to be full stomach. Okay? Even when there was food available, he would rather stay more empty than to be full. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ never filled his stomach up in his life. You guys listening? I'm talking about 6 hours later, you know what I'm saying? Like, when the iftar time comes, you know what I'm saying? Like, subhanAllah, in Ramadan, you've got some people whose tasbih all day is subhanAllah, subhanAllah, subhanAllah. Other people in Ramadan all day they're going samosa, 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 samosa. You know what I'm saying? People have different tasbihs they're doing all day, you get me? You go to the iftar table and you see people like, instead of dua, forget dua, the guy is looking at the table. It's like, I'm going to kill those kebabs. I'm not going to murder those samosas. I'm going to flush down that faluda down. I'm going to completely squash that melon. And that's my starters, okay? Chana, kisuri, everything inside. After that, biryani, have some rice, curry, this and that, roti, you name it, have some dessert after that. And the problem starts 1 hour later. Right? They come to Taraweeh, or if you're lucky, it's Taraweeh. If you're not lucky, it's called Ferrari. Okay? But anyway, They come, they say, Imam, I can't keep my wudu. Alright, I say, bro, could you please explain to me what did you have for iftar? Okay? So when he goes down the list, by the time it's finished, I say, brother, in your stomach, you have tsunami. Okay? And it's about to go down. You know what I'm saying? Right? If he's lucky, he's going to get a halal burp coming upwards. Otherwise, you know what's happening. Alright? Even the Imam Sahib is giving the announcement after the few rakats, he says, instead of saying, like, after the second rakat there's going to be a sajda. Instead of saying that, the Imam like, after the second rakat there's going to be a gas leak here. Please be careful, somebody's going to do some damage here. Right? So the thing is, the guy can't even keep his wudu, he's in and out. Why, brother? You're eating too much, and when you eat too much, you're going to be sleeping, you're going to get lazy. And the Prophet ﷺ never filled his stomach up in his life. In fact, if you went to his table, you would find all the best foods that were wholesome. You'd find on his table, okay, you'd find vinegar, olive oil, olives, dates. You'd find cucumber, you'd find melons, you'd find barley, you'd find wheat, you'd find bread that is wholesome bread. You'd find that he did have rice on some occasions. You'd find he did have chicken on a few rare occasions. And even rare was the red meat that he had, because they never had the luxury of slaughtering their animals every day. Okay? Prophet ﷺ would have his food, wholesome foods. After that, he would go to rest. Okay? This is his midday siesta. He would lie down for a quick, like 10 to 20 minutes. Sometimes he slept, sometimes he didn't. He would lie down, he would get back up. Now it's time for dhuhr. The Prophet ﷺ would leave the dhuhr late if it's summertime because it's really hot. He would leave it early if it's winter time because it's not too hot. And he sometimes would give a reminder after that. If not, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be in his private space. Before Asr, he would come out. And when he comes out, he goes to the marketplace, and sometimes he buys things for his own household. And they say specifically after Asr, and some narrations say before Asr, the Prophet ﷺ would go to the marketplaces to regulate the prices in there. He would want fair trade. He was against monopolization. He didn't want anyone to cheat in the marketplaces. So the Prophet ﷺ would try his best to regulate all of that. And this is the time after Asr, subhanAllah, they say that he was with his Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in. He used to walk with them, subhanAllah. The wind is blowing in Medina, it's slightly cool time. When he walked, they said he walked amongst them, not ahead of them, not behind them. He was right in the midst of them, and he would walk as if he's just one of them, subhanAllah. And today you have people who have sheikhs, like, sheikh is there, oh my God, the sheikh shadow is there. Hey, bro, move to the left. Don't step in the shadow because you're going to get cursed. What do you mean you're going to get cursed if you go into the shadow? What are you talking about? People make these things up. I don't understand. People make things up. Like, for example, have you seen people, when they lay the prayer mat out and they prayed the salat, and after they finish, they bend over the corner of the musalla and they walk off. I'm like, bro, what do you do that for? Shaitan namaz for the shaitan's going to come and pray here. Bruh, lifetime's mission has been to make shaitan pray. Right? So let's undo this. Let you step back. Shaitan, come, please pray. I'm going to put another 16 mats out. I'm going to get all the shayateen, all of them praying one line. You crazy? You said the shaitan going to pray? Of course, if you just pray, that's mission over. Right? Mission accomplished. Right? Anyway, don't make things up. Alright? If you don't know it, you don't know. You go to somebody who knows it and then learn from them. So the Prophet would be amongst them, he would be walking amongst them. And Rasulullah this time, he would go and he would be with his Sahaba, and he was with his wives. So this is the time after Asr, he would go to all of his wives' houses one by one, or he would sit at one house and all of the wives would come to that house. He would see to whatever they needed. He would respond to them if they had any queries. He would try and get them something if they needed something. And the Prophet ﷺ looked after their needs, cared for them. And then there's another third thing said, is that sometimes after Asr there was a garden outside Medina. It had 4 walls around it, a very green, lush garden, okay, with a spring inside it, beautiful scenery. The Prophet ﷺ would go in there, he would sit in there and remember Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, it's beautiful if you find your space in your own house to remember Allah Azza wa Jal, or you find a nice park. Allah's blessed us with a lot of parks outside there. You can go and you can remember Allah Azza wa Jal. Just make sure you go at the time of Alhamdulillah and not at the the time of astaghfirullah in the park, if you know what I'm trying to say, yeah? So the Prophet ﷺ would go there, he would just remember Allah Azza wa Jal in the park. Sometimes some Sahabi came in, sometimes he was left alone, and he would do that. And now Maghrib time is coming, the Prophet ﷺ goes, leads the Maghrib prayer. The Maghrib prayer, he would lead it shorter surahs than any other of the other prayers. And now he would pray some extra nafil prayers. And this is the time he's slightly to himself again. And then just before Isha, sometimes after Isha, rarely after Isha. If it was emergency, it would be after Isha. If not before Isha, the Prophet ﷺ would talk secretly to certain individuals about the political affairs of Medina. Okay, so Makkah Mukarramah, the Arabia, whatever politically is happening, this is the time he took the opportunity at night time to talk about this with certain individuals, okay, because not everything can be said to everyone. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ takes the opportunity, and subhanAllah, at this time, even the hypocrites, they found it difficult to come to Isha. So it's a wonderful opportunity to speak to the right Muslims at this time. So the Prophet ﷺ would do that, come to Isha, and by now some of the Sahaba they're sitting in their places. In the hadith it says, there were no clocks and so on. So he's sitting in his place, they're sitting in the place, and they're just trying to keep themselves, right? You know that feeling that you get? So they would like that, and the Prophet would come, he would lead the prayers, and once he led the prayers, now he would not like them to gossip. He didn't like them gossiping after Isha. How many types of gossiping are there? With what do you gossip with, tell me? What do you gossip? What do you use to gossip? Am I talking to a bunch of aliens? What do you use to create gossip? Mouth. Good. But there's another way of creating gossip. Instead of using your mouth, what can you use to create gossip? Not eyes, not ears. To create the gossip. To gossip with someone without your mouth. How do you gossip with someone without your mouth? Thank you. Some of my sisters know. That's it. Sit on the sofa, not saying a single word. Know what I'm saying? Don't like dig at you sisters, dig at everybody, okay? If people had stopped doing that, they'd probably be on Fajr on time. If people had stopped doing that, half the time if they gave up and they used it for ibadah towards Allah, they'd probably become a wali of Allah. They'd probably become a saint, in the religion. There's so much time sitting there, 1 hour goes, 2 hours. Stop gossiping after Isha, go to bed. The Prophet ﷺ loved to go to bed straight away after Isha. So he comes home, and now he closes the door by saying Bismillah. He covers the pots with their lids by saying Bismillah. Any water containers, he would close them off and say Bismillah as he does it. Why? I don't know if you knew or not, but if you leave your house saying Bismillah, and you close your door coming back saying Bismillah, if you open your window saying Bismillah, and you close your window saying Bismillah, then no jinn can enter your house. Kaboom! What I want you to do, today you go home and you close your window by saying Bismillah, look through the window and go, just be careful tomorrow morning when you walk out the door, you know what I'm saying? They'll probably be waiting for you. No, I mean, you'll be fine, inshallah. We have something known as Ayatul Kursi. Ayatul Kursi, you pray that, you'll be fine. Okay? A lot of Muslims don't know this. Just say Bismillah, no jinn can enter your house. Right? Ayatul Kursi serves a lot of purposes. SubhanAllah, Ayatul Kursi serves a lot of purposes. To read Ayatul Kursi, you'll be fine. In fact, you see all these Muslims, they're rough and tough outside, and the only time when you don't see them rough and tough, they're quite scared, is when they go to the park. What's an Asian scared of when they go to the park? Dogs, that's what. Dogs, isn't it? Scared of dogs. If you walk with anything else, but not dogs. You don't know Ayatul Kursi? Dog goes to you, woof, woof, woof. You go, Allahu la ilaha illa hu. You look at the dog, I'm telling you, the dog's are going to come near you. You blow Ayatul Kursi on yourself. I take my kids to the park, dogs all around, alhamdulillah, never been in an incident. Why? Because Ayatul Kursi protects us, and that's what we should do. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after every fard, he would pray Ayatul Kursi, okay? It gives us protection, and that's what we need. Anyway, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he even turns out any fire that's inside the house, and then he goes to his bedside, he shakes his bedside, and now he's going to recite. He's going to recite his du'as. He's being, Surah Alif Lam Sajda, Surah Mulk, he recites. He would all, recite Surah Falaq 3 times, Surah Nas 3 times, blowing his hands, pass it all over his body. There was a number of other du'as that he used to recite. In fact, Aisha radiallahu anha says, from the morning right till the night, the Prophet ﷺ was in dhikr, in the remembrance of Allah the entire time. The only time when he wasn't in the dhikr of Allah was when he relieved himself, he moved away from that place and he said, Ghufranak, forgive me my Lord. Why would he say forgive me to Allah? Because that's the only time he never did the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Otherwise the entire day he was in the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Subhanallah, and the du'as he used to do, subhanallah, were all the du'as to show that we don't take the gifts of Allah as granted. Let me give you an example. You wake up in the morning, what's the du'a that you say? Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. You say that, right? You're saying, I thank and I praise Allah for giving me one more day of life. I don't take this for granted. Okay? When you have food, you eat the food and you say, Alhamdulillah alladhi at'amani hadha wa razaqanihi min ghayri hawlin minni wa la quwwa. I praise and I thank Allah for giving me food. I have no way of eating this food except if Allah Azza wa Jalla gives it to me. You guys understand? Right? That's how we every single dua of the Prophet ﷺ was to show that we're not taking these gifts for granted. I want to tell you to do one thing right now. If you take your phones out, don't worry, the buckets are not going to come, you're not going to donate them, don't worry about it. Yeah? Just take your phones out. I'm going to show you something. I'll show you an app that we released 10 days ago. It has all of the du'as that I've been speaking about throughout the daily life of the Prophet ﷺ, from morning to evening he used to make. We've got Arabic recitation inside there. We've got English translation, a very good translation inside there. We've got repeat function to try and listen to the du'as over and over again in Arabic, in English. And the best thing that we've got, which no other app or no other book has got, which is the virtues of the Prophet ﷺ that he mentioned, are with the du'as in the app, so you know exactly what you're getting, inshallah, by saying those du'as. So if you open your app store, open your Play Store, and all you do in there is you type in essential du'as. It'll be ESSENTIAL, 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 and du'as as in DUAS. You'll see an app that will come that will say essential du'as and surahs, and that's the one that is. So if you download that, and later on inshallah you can look at that and you can inshallah benefit from that. Okay, so the Prophet will say these du'as. He's in his bed, he goes to sleep by putting his right hand under his right cheek on his right side, and he lies down, and that's his initial part that he tries to go to sleep on. Of course, if you're tired in that position, then you can turn around. You turn around your back, you can turn around your left side, whichever side it is. Prophet ﷺ drops off, he goes to sleep, he wakes up. When he wakes up, he looks towards the sky and he says his dua, the dua that he says, and the ayah that he reads, all of them are in the app, inshallah. Once he does that, he then takes his utensil, takes his jug of water, takes his miswak, or his siwak or his miswak, takes that with him to go and relieve himself and to brush his teeth. How many of you men in the last week used the miswak? Put your hands up. 2. How many women in the last week used the miswak? Put your hands up. 3. Low stats. You know the power of miswak is? The power of miswak is a lot. And in fact, I hear this is the only city I've been to where the men are lower than the women. You know, a lot of the other cities I've gone to, women have rarely raised their hand. In fact, a lot of women think the miswak is a male sunnah. It's not a male sunnah. You got teeth, right? It's for men and women, okay? And the siwak, the beautiful thing about it is if you use it properly, inshallah, you won't have bad breath. You know what bad breath is? The woman sleeping, okay? Husband next to her. Husband turns around towards her. She says, no, turn around the other way. You know, don't breathe in my face. You're probably going to knock me out. You know what bad breath is? Don't breathe in the next person's in my mouth right now. Bad breath happens for a reason. Rasulullah ﷺ used to now do his miswak. Now listen to this. He takes his miswak, puts it in his mouth there, Up and down, up and down, up and down, up. Not this way. No. Up and down. You can't do that with a normal brush because you might rip the gums. With the miswak, it's soft, you can actually do, and that strengthens your gums. You get less bleeding from that, subhanAllah. He does it all the way to one end, then from the bottom to the other end, and then again, 3 times, and then inside he does it. Okay, inside he does it all over. Then he does miswak on his gums. Okay, then after that he puts his tongue out, and he actually does miswak of his tongue. You know why? Because the residue saliva on your tongue and on your gums is the very thing that gives you the bad breath. Okay, and the food that gets stuck inside your teeth. Okay, Prophet ﷺ used to use the miswak. SubhanAllah, I went to the dentist after 30 years. I went at 8 years old, he scared the life out of me. I said, I'm not going to come and see you again. After 30 years old, 38 years old, I had some bleeding in the gums. I went to the dentist. Dentist looked at me and said to me, he said, Mr. Ali, I've got good news for you and I've got bad news for you. I said, what's the good news, bad news? The good news is that your teeth are in good shape. The bad news is I can't make much money out of it. I said, Alhamdulillah. Now he said to me, Mr. Ali, how many times do you brush your teeth? What's the answer? In a day, how many times do you brush your teeth? Come on. How many times do the dentist tell you to brush your teeth? Twice. People are saying, 5 times. What are you talking about? 5 times. Twice, yes. The dentist will tell you twice. When the dentist said that to me, I said, no. I said, once. He said, twice. I said, no, once. He said, twice. I said, once. And the rest of the time, miswak. That's how I ended up not coming to you for 30 years. Alright? If you use the miswak properly, you won't need to go to the dentist as well. As long as you get the food in between from your teeth and you brush it properly and regularly. Miswak, Rasulullah used to use it quite often. Morning, evening, every time he was quiet, he used to use it. Every time he's talking a lot, he used to use it. Before salah, he's using it. Before wudu, he's using it. Subhanallah. So anyway, that is the beautiful thing. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes back. Now he's going to spend his time in tahajjud. Do you know that his tahajjud time, subhanAllah, when he spent his time with tahajjud, he spent now standing in front of Allah for hours. He built this up for hours. And he enjoyed every moment of it. And he used to do his tahajjud in the dark. In the what? In the what? Once I led the Qiyamul Layl in my house, the tahajjud in my house. One of my female relatives, she was freaking at the back. Why is it so dark? Because you know what? They're scared of the jinns. Brother and sister, you don't have to be scared of jinns. The jinns are more scared of you. Once I led the salah in my local masjid, and in Palmer's Green in North London, and I said, switch all the lights off, just keep a little bit of the light at the back for people who need to exit. And a brother came to me the next day and said, Imam, what you did last night was bid'ah. I said, bid'ah you? You bid'ah. I said, I've got hadith for this. He said, what hadith? I said, in Sahih Muslim explains that Aisha radiallahu anha, one night, it was her night with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so she woke up, she put her hand next to her, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not there. So she gets up, she goes inside the masjid, she comes in, and now she gets on all her fours, and she's patting the floor with her hands, she's crawling on her fours, and eventually her hand falls onto the sole of the Prophet ﷺ while he's in sujood. She sits behind him, waits for him to finish. Rasulullah ﷺ finishes the prayer. He turns around to Aisha and says, oh Aisha, did you think that on your night I would go to another woman, another wife of mine? Did you really think that? Okay, he knew what was on her mind. Okay, but the thing was, the hadith says it was so dark that she got on her fours to look for a Prophet ﷺ. So I said to him, be that you? Okay, praying in the dark is beautiful. I want you to do this tonight. Go home, find a place in your house where you're not going to be disturbed. If you can switch all the lights off, alhamdulillah. If you're a little bit scared or you're not too comfortable, just put a little bit of a light on, no problem. The darker it is, the more comfortable you're going to be. And a lot of people don't know this. When you do your tahajjud, when you do any nafil salah, you can raise your voice to the extent that you hear it. You can even raise it to the extent that the imam raises it. But don't disturb anyone in your family, in your household when you do that. So you stand in your prayer. I want you to do 2 rakats over 10 minutes. It's beautiful. If you try this, it's absolutely beautiful. You stand there and you read like this. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Pause. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Pause. Maliki Yawmiddin. Pause. إياك وإياك نستعين. Each one, slowly, steadily. Go to ruku. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. Just you and Allah and nobody else. Do 2 rakats over 10 minutes. When you finish, you're going to give yourselves a good pat on the back because you've enjoyed it. You and Allah, nobody else. It's the dark, it's the night time. Your heart will connect with Allah Azza wa Jal. Just take your time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do his rakats, sometimes 8, sometimes 12, sometimes more, over the half the night, sometimes less than half the night, sometimes more than half the night. All of it's explained in Surah Muzammil. Allah says, نِصْفَهُ أَوْ انْقُصْ مِنْهُ قَلِيلًا أَوْ زِدْ عَلَيْهِ وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. And he would recite his Qur'an steadily inside his salah. Subhanallah, he enjoyed every moment of it, even though his feet were swelling. Aisha radiallahu anha said, Messenger of Allah, why are you doing this? When Allah has forgiven anything of yours, you have no sins. So the Prophet ﷺ said, should I not be a very thankful servant for Allah? Okay, this is true love. True love is, okay, there's different types of love. One love is the love that you love them, but you only love them because you're getting something off them. You understand? That's the bottom part of love. The love above that is that you love them because you're getting something off them, but you're also giving something back. Right? That's a high love. The highest love is you love them, but whether they give you something back or not, you want to give your 100% to them. And that was the Anbiya, the Prophets' love for Allah Azza wa Jal. They wanted to give everything to Allah, even though they were not receiving anything. I mean, they were getting a lot, but even if they never received anything, they'd still do it for Allah Azza wa Jal, okay? Though Allah is so merciful. Anyway, Prophet ﷺ praises tahajjud, he praises witr salah, and then he sits down and he prays another 2 rakats sitting down, okay? He's slightly tired now, okay? And now he's waiting for the adhan to be called out. They mean Fajr time. Who used to call the adhan in Medina? Why was he appointed for the adhan? Because he had a beautiful voice. Exactly. You should tell that to your committee members in your masjids. You know what I'm saying? Like, when the adhan is said, the adhan should be done to not only wake people up, but to revive the hearts and revive the souls. When you hear the adhan, you should be like, wow, you know what? I want to go and pray. I feel like praying. You should feel motivated. That's it. You know, I'm ready. This is beautiful. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You hear this? Wow, I want to hear more. I want to go and pray. Subhanallah, some of our masjids, they appoint our Uncle G's to give the adhan. I love my Uncle G's, okay? I love them, okay? Don't get me wrong, I love them. But my Uncle G gets up and he does the adhan like this. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. We think, Uncle G, is that the adhan for your janazah salah or something? Like, are we supposed to bury you after this? Like, Uncle G, I feel sorry for you. Like, which adhan you're going to give, and you're going to be like, 6 foot down there, I say, Uncle G is finished, like, gone. The adhan should be given in the masjid and appointed. They should appoint these young people with beautiful voices, or these men. Doesn't matter what age their age is, it's the beautiful voice that you need. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. So anyway, the Prophet ﷺ, he does his tahajjud, he waits for the adhan to be called out, he then now prays his sunnah inside his house. When he's praying his sunnah, he then goes into his masjid, and in his masjid, subhanAllah, like I said to you earlier on, he lies down, his feet are sweating, he's tired, he lies across the masjid with his right hand under his right cheek, lifting his head up, feet towards one side, head towards another side, looking towards the Qibla, waiting for the Sahaba to come and join him in the Fajr prayer. If you wanted to know the Prophet ﷺ in Ramadan, it was all of this and plus extra. They say that if he gave sadaqah outside Ramadan, in Ramadan he was described as a fast wind, according to Hadith al-Bukhari. In Ramadan, he read the whole Quran to Jibreel of whatever was revealed, and Jibreel read it back to him. In Ramadan, he in the last 10 nights, they say he tightened his lower garment, which means that he got very serious in ibadah, and he also did not go towards his wives in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. In Ramadan, it says that he woke his family up for tahajjud, his wives up one by one for tahajjud in the last 10 nights. In Ramadan, in i'tikaf, he had a mat out and he would sit on his mat. The Sahaba knew not to talk to him when he was sitting on that mat. He took everything to another level in Ramadan. And that's what our Ramadan should be about. I want to say one final thing, my friends, and then that's it. We're going to end it here, inshallah. What I want to say to you is this. Our last 10 nights are coming up, okay? From Tuesday, it's going to be the i'tikaf. On Tuesday is the last 10 nights starting, okay? So we literally got 2 more days to go. If you haven't upped your ibadah yet, then you need to up your worship for Allah Azza wa Jalla in these last 10 nights. And I want to say one thing, and that's it, we finished. Imagine somebody came here and they put a whole heap of £1 coins in the middle. And they gave me a shovel, they gave you a shovel, right? Gave you a shovel and said, okay, stand around here. When the clock strikes, I'm going to give you 30 minutes. Whatever you can take with your shovel over to your corner in the bucket is going to be all yours times 70. Okay, that many pounds times 70. And in the last 10 minutes of those 30 minutes, there's going to be a minute, whatever you do in there, I'm going to times it by thousands. Okay? Which one of us would go there with the shovel, clock strikes, and we take a load, take another load? Time for me to take my phone now. Time for me to stop. Time for me to go and have a chat with someone. Who's going to stop? Who's going to stop coming? No one. Especially when those last 10 minutes comes, we're going to be doing our best to try and reserve our energy for those last 10 minutes, because one of those minutes is going to be times thousands. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Ramadan is here, every deed you do is times 70. And then he said, in the last 10 nights is one night, I'm going to times it by 83 years and 4 months. That's timesing it by 1,000 months. My brothers, my sisters, these last 10 nights, you've got an opportunity to get Laylatul Qadr. Anything you do in that night, Allah will times it by 83 years. As if you did that deed every night for 83 years and 4 months, which is 1,000 months. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us tawfiq for this. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us blessings, and may He make us people who will do our best to get close to Him. Take anything you can from the reminder I've given. Either you take his smile, you take his advice, you take the way he used to talk to people, you take the way that he used to visit people, you take away his ibadah, his worship, you take away anything that I've said in the 24 hours of the Prophet ﷺ, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla make us people who revive his sunnah, inshaAllah. Jazakumullahu khair. And that's the end of my speech. Are you going to come to the stage, or is Hassan going to come, inshallah? Hassan is here, just come to the stage. Are you come as well, inshallah? Jazakumullahu khair. And please stay in your places for one more minute, inshallah, and then I'll be over. Jazakumullah khair.